And now to a new segment on Battleground, Waste Watch, in which we endeavour to bring some accountability back to government and the way they spend your money. The team at the Menzies Research Centre has been examining hundreds of government tenders, contracts and departmental budget statements to highlight an ever-growing appetite to spend your taxpayer dollars in questionable ways. James Mathias from the Menzies Research Centre joins me to report on the latest findings from Melbourne. James, what can you tell us about a government agency called the Australian Centre for International Agricultural Research, which I must admit I hadn't heard of until you sent me your notes?
That's right, Nick, and I certainly hadn't heard of it before I started to do this research. But the ACICIAR is set up by the government, spends about $90 million a year, has 78 employees, and since 2019 has administered $88 million worth of contracts through AusTender, one of which was $250,000 to the Queensland University of Technology to conduct, and I've got my notes here so I get it right, Nick, a research report on institutional barriers to climate finance through a gendered lens in Fiji, Samoa and the Solomon Islands.
Just run through that again. You must be making this up. And tell me what the research was called again, James.
$250,000 and
a quarter of $250,000, right? For what?
To find out institutional barriers to climate finance through a gendered lens in Fiji, Samoa and the Solomon Islands. But what's interesting about this, Nick, is that on their website, this was commissioned in December of 2022. On their website, it said that this project had finished in January of 2023, and no report exists. But again, I'm going to look at my notes here because we do find a project outcome, which says that they identified current climate finance options that may best support gender equity outcomes and community-based adaptation approaches in agriculture. But that's not the cracker here, Nick, because there was also an institution in Fiji called the House of Sarah. And do you know what they were reporting into themselves, Nick?
No, you tell me.
Institutional barriers to climate finance through a gendered lens in Fiji, Samoa and the Solomon Islands.
You couldn't make this up. Look, I don't know why I'm laughing. This is our money at work, right? But this is, the title of the research. So you're telling me that we're paying for some very ho-hum, questionable research that duplicates something that's already in the public domain. Have I got that right?
That's exactly right, Nick, unfortunately. And there's just one suggestion that I have to the ACIAR. Maybe next time send one of your 78 employees to the workshop that the local organisation held when they had their research report released to the public. Maybe then spend $250,000.
78 employees this outfit's got, right? I wonder how they fill their working hours, but I suppose that's a challenge for a lot of public servants. But moving on, I gather there's something very fishy going on in the Department of Fisheries. Tell me about it.
There is, Nick. There is indeed. You know, since 2019, this department has entered into 1,750 contracts worth $615 million for personal labour hire. Now, the government's going through this thing at the moment, same job, same pay. We can't outsource the labour hire anymore, but the department has administered 1,750 contracts.
Did you say that was $600 million? Did you say that? It was more than $500 million.
$615 million worth of temporary labour.
Look, you've been an advisor to government ministers, which I guess gives you some clues as to where the fiscal bodies are buried. This trend, James, of outsourcing work to outside consultants that you think should be done by the public service is all too common, isn't it? I mean, it's a bit like, in a way, I don't know, you've got a standing army, but you keep them in the barracks because you don't trust them to fight the war. Is that right?
Nick, it's so true. And, I had a look at the Department of Fisheries portfolio budget statement, which is where you can usually find the average number of staffing that they had during the year. And the Department of Fisheries don't have it listed.